For most of human history, if you wanted someone to love you, you didn't try to win their heart. You tried to destroy their will. We think Valentine's Day celebrates love, but until recently, love rituals were about power. Imagine you want someone to love you. Today, you might send flowers or a text, but 2,000 years ago, if you wanted someone, you didn't woo them. You broke them first. You would craft a doll, pierce its eyes and heart with bronze needles, and bury it in the grave of a murder victim, whispering prayers not to Cupid, but to the gods of the underworld. We are told that love is soft, but history tells us that love is a weapon. When we think of ancient romance, we tend to think of poetry, statues of Aphrodite, and epic myths. But in the ancient Greek and Roman worlds, falling in love wasn't cute. It was treated like an infection, a curse sent by the gods that attacked your mind. The Greek word for this was pathos, the same root as pain. If you were in love, you were sick, and the only cure was to infect someone else. Before there was Saint Valentine, there was the wolf. In ancient Rome, mid-February wasn't for couples. It was the time of Lupercalia, a chaotic purification festival. Priests, known as the Luperci, would gather at a cave believed to be where Romulus and Remus were suckled by a she-wolf. They would sacrifice goats and a dog, smearing the bloody blade across the foreheads of two chosen youths, wiping it away with wool dipped in milk. But here is where the romance comes in. The priests would cut strips from the flayed skins of the sacrificed goats. These strips were called februa, from which we get the name February. They would run naked through the streets of Rome, lashing out with these bloody whips. Women would actually line up to be struck. Why? Because they believed the lash of the goat skin would make them fertile and grant them easy childbirth. It was a ritual of blood and fertility, not affection. So how did we get from blood whipping to Hallmark cards? The Catholic Church tried to sanitize this wild energy. Enter Saint Valentine. But even he isn't the romantic figure you think he is. History suggests there were at least 2, maybe 3 different men named Valentine who were martyred. None of them were matchmakers. One was a priest in Rome, another a bishop in Tournai. The most popular legend says Valentine defied Emperor Claudius II, who had banned marriage for young soldiers because single men fought better. Valentine supposedly married them in secret. It sounds sweet, but the reality of his end was brutal. He was beaten with clubs and beheaded on the Flaminian Way. The love associated with him was added centuries later by poets like Chaucer. The real Saint Valentine is a patron of epilepsy and plague, a headless martyr buried in a chaotic time. In ancient Greece, people cast spells to make someone desire them. Scholars have recovered a massive collection of texts known as the Papyri Graecae Magicae, or the Greek magical papyri. These contain spells for everything from finding treasure to curing headaches, but a huge portion is dedicated to Agōgē. The word Agōgē literally meant abduction. These weren't spells to make someone find you attractive. These were spells to drag a victim out of their house, against their will, to the bed of the caster. Let's look at a specific spell from the papyri, PGM-4. It instructs the caster to take a wax or clay doll and pierce it with 13 bronze needles. As you pierce the doll, you recite, "I pierce your eyes, so you may not see anyone but me. I pierce your mouth, so you may not speak to anyone but me. I pierce your stomach, so you may not eat." They weren't trying to make someone like them. They were trying to make the body betray the mind. By invoking these dark powers, they believed the victim would feel a literal burning sensation, a fever of lust and anxiety that could only be extinguished by submission. One spell specifically calls upon the spirits of the untimely dead, people who died young or violently. These restless spirits were thought to be angry and jealous, easy to twist into tormenting the living. The caster would go to a grave at midnight, place the spell there, and essentially hire a ghost to stalk the woman they desired. This isn't seduction, it's supernatural kidnapping. The Romans took these ideas and industrialized it. Across the Roman Empire, from Britain to North Africa, archaeologists have found thousands of Defixiones, cursed tablets. These are small sheets of lead inscribed with binding spells, rolled up and often pierced with a nail to fix the magic in place. While many were used for chariot racing or legal disputes, a disturbing number were for erotic compulsion. Here, the violence changes shape. It's no longer about burning someone alive from the inside, but pinning them down. The Latin word defixio comes from defigere, to pin down, to fasten. The lover wanted to paralyze the target's will. Consider a tablet found in Carthage. It summons a host of chthonic deities to bind a woman named Quartilla. The text reads, "Bind Quartilla, take away her sleep, let her not have sex with anyone else, let her mind be wandering, let her be dragged by her hair to me." Dragged by her hair, the violence is explicit. What makes this truly disturbing is how ordinary it all feels. The Romans treated the gods like civil servants of the underworld. You paid them with the tablet and the ritual, and they delivered the human you ordered. As we move into the Middle Ages, Christianity dominates Europe. You might think these pagan rituals vanished. They didn't. They just went underground and put on a holy mask. Medieval erotic magic is where prayer and obsession collide. We find instructions in Grimoires that tell the lovesick suitor to use the Holy Eucharist, the body of Christ, in love potions. One ritual involved keeping the communion wafer in your mouth, not swallowing it, and then later mixing it with food to give to the person you desired. The idea was that the holiest object on earth would force a divine connection between two people. Other rituals were more visceral. They involved mixing bodily fluids, blood, sweat, into wine or bread. The superstition was simple. If part of me lives inside you, then you belong to me. But the church cracked down hard. By the late medieval period, using magic for love wasn't just a sin, it was evidence of a pact with the devil. The desperate lover wasn't just a creep anymore, they were a heretic. Yet, people still did it. The court records of the Inquisition are full of accusations of love magic. Women were accused of slipping menstrual blood into wine to make men burn with desire and submit to their will. Proof that the desire to control others was a temptation that could override even the fear of hell itself. Across the history of love rituals, a pattern emerges. From the whips of Lupercalia to the binding spells of Rome, these weren't attempts to build intimacy. They were weapons. The ancients understood something we often forget. Desire is dangerous. It can make regular people do monstrous things. They didn't view love as a fairy tale. They viewed it as a war. So this Valentine's Day, when you see a red heart, remember the history behind it. Remember the lead tablets the needles, and the ghosts summoned to drag victims from their beds. Until next time, keep your heart guarded, because someone, somewhere, may still be trying to turn their desire against you.